Welcome, guys, to the continuation of our notes on the physical geography of Greece as it expands economically and as it develops politically. So, we've talked a lot about how the Greeks did a lot of seafaring trade along the Aegean Sea here in this section of our map. With a series of rulers, largely Alexander the Great and the people who follow after him, the Greeks actually control pretty much the Persian Empire. I mean, they take over Egypt, they take over the Persians, they get all the way to the outskirts of India, to the Mauryan Empire. So their culture, as well as the colonization efforts that they make to draw in more resources, are going to spread Greek or Hellenic culture across the Mediterranean and across the Black Sea as far to the east as the Indus Valley. Because less than 30% of their land was actually arable, remember that word means able to be farmed, they had to make some changes. A lot of their produce was grains, olives, which grow on trees, grapevines, figs, which also are a tree, and then their livestock was primarily goats and sheep and small animals. Remember, we've talked a little bit about how horses and cattle can't handle the rugged terrain, the cliffs, and that sort of thing of ancient Greece. So here's just a general idea of what the ancient Greeks would have eaten, and you can compare that then to that of the ancient Egyptians on the next screen. So if you want to tag back and forth and see the differences there between what they eat for breakfast, but if you can see the Egyptians have a lot more meat option, whereas the Greeks are going to do much more just fish and cheeses. So, cultural diffusion allows for the Greeks to spread their culture, their literature, their language, their legal systems, their governmental structures, along with they implement the first coinage systems. So it's a time period we're going to emerge from using the barter system, where I have figs and you have grapes and let's trade for a certain amount, into I have figs and you have coins and you give me coins and I give you figs, and then I go buy whatever from someone else. So that's a huge economic shift throughout our history. Obviously, we live in a monetary system today, and that dates back all the way to the ancient Greeks. So the Greeks developed city-states, or what they call a polis, which the plural of that is polis, which consists of a central city, a central town, and the surrounding villages in the countryside. It's not just like a super tiny city, but it's the land completely surrounding it that would have been used for the agriculture and where the farmers lived, the fishing villages, and that sort of thing, that all fed back into the heart of the city itself. All ancient Greek city-states contain a public center called an agora, which is where you would have the governmental sections, where you would have the marketplaces and that sort of thing. And almost all of them include an acropolis, which is just a fortified hilltop, which is the easily defendable station where you could bring in not just your troops but your citizens to stay if you were going to be sieged or something like this. This particular picture, which I'm going to make bigger, this particular picture is the, oh goodness, hold on, sorry about that, that went crazy. This particular city center is the Acropolis at Athens. You can see I wrote that to the side, where this is the famous Parthenon, which is the temple to Athena that Phidias had constructed. That's the most famous sort of hilltop of Athens. Really of all of ancient Greece. So the polis develops because you could not get from one city-state to the other very easily, and so each city-state develops independently because you can't control it very well if you can't actually access each other very quickly. And the city-states are there to promote the civic life and the commercial life. There are central government areas, there are markets, there's all kinds of things. There are theaters, where we talked about different cultural contributions to Greece. And there's going to be theaters that develop, that sort of thing. All of that is going to take place at the heart of the city. You can see in this sort of cartoon drawing picture, you have the Acropolis here on top, and you have the surrounding city with a wall. Then you also have the countryside. You do have some farmland, you have trees that are going to grow, and there's several different pockets of village in town. And of course, the sea trade that is going to be very heavily dependent on in eastern Greece. You also have this bottom picture of the Trojan horse. So in the story of the Trojan horse, the Greeks that were fighting at the city of Troy, which is on Anatolia, they brought, when they built the Trojan horse, according to the story, when they built the Trojan horse, it was brought into that public center, that central part of the city, and the celebratory festivities happened all through the night, and then after everyone had gone to bed, then the Greeks climbed out of the horse and attacked the city of Troy. I'm not sure that this happened. Remember that, number one, this is all going to be detailed in Homer's epic poem about the Trojans, which happens in a time period before writing. It's a prehistoric period of ancient Greek history before they had written records. But also, that story relies very heavily on people that are gods and demigods who are controlling events, and so that calls into question some of the historical facts that Homer describes as well. So this is just sort of a map that shows how when the cities got overcrowded, they looked to create colonies, and all the green all the green sections of coastline are all places that the Greeks had established colonies, and the orange or the reddish color, this color along Africa and in the Middle East, are the Phoenicians that developed the alphabet. So, we feel like the way that we cover this chronologically in class, we feel like the Phoenicians were super old, and the Greeks are newer, but they're really contemporaries of each other. That the Greeks and the Phoenicians were working at the same time and bartering and trading at the same time. Now, these orange people, these Etruscans, are going to be the beginnings of the Roman Empire. So as the Etruscans are going to grow and take over Italy, they will take over control of everything from the Greeks. And then there's some wars between the Etruscans and the people of Carthage, who take over after the Phoenicians. Alright, so that's it for today's video. As always, if you have any questions, let me know. Bye, guys.